Braxis holdout, and the choice here is Expert. So we're kicking this series off with a bang.
That already makes me happy to see Braxis. It's one of those maps when it started to come into the scene, most teams didn't really enjoy playing it, and now you have so many different strategies. We have seen wave clear strategies, we have teams try to go for globals, double global on one lane, rotating to the bot lane, switches between globals on each lane all of a sudden to make it more dynamic. And then on top of that, very aggressive fight playstyles as well from teams like Expert, Synergy as well, just trying to force these fights. It's a super cool map at this point, and it seems as if teams are just redefining the meta every single time they play on it.
Yeah, the old boring 4-1 split that stuck around for a long time, more so in NA than EU, is long gone, and that's the minority of games now. You see a lot of dynamic rotations, a lot of globals, a lot of heroes with mobility that aren't pure globals in order to just constantly force a numbers advantage on one side, but you never know what side that's going to be with a good team.
And already, I mean, you were talking a bit about Expert and adapting to what they've been seeing going up against Trick. Now we see something similar. Dignitas, of course, watching all the games yesterday. Banning out the Sonya immediately. One of the strongest solo laners that we have. And even though, as you just said, the old 4-1 split is starting to break off a little bit, it's still super important to have that strong solo laner available to your composition. So Dignitas banning out the Sonya.
Yeah, Sonya, one of the strongest right now in that solo lane. And her being banned out, her involvement yesterday in Europe was absolutely ridiculous. So Expert actually for the first time in a game number 1 thinking about this ban. We normally have them come out guns a-firing, and here they're waiting for their ban.
I don't think they really expected a Sonya ban.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
When we're talking about Braxis holdout, we're still talking a lot about our globals, Dehaka, for example. And we've seen even Probius was at this point banned against Expert because they showed that Probius play. So that's how far it went. Banning the Sonya out is definitely a bit out of the ordinary. And we have now also Genji available as a first pick, and Dignitas jumps onto that opportunity.
A little unusual for what EU's shown so far, but I like it. With the 2 solid solo laners taken away, Genji's mobility on this map does allow him to be a pseudo-global, like we mentioned earlier. And the fact that he can pressure multiple lanes very, very quickly is going to be basically what Dignitas is counting on to keep the pressure on.
I also feel that one of the reasons why we've seen Genji come in a little bit less yesterday than what we can expect for today and tomorrow is simply the fact that Trick couldn't practice this entire week. So they of course played in the Hero League a lot with Genji, I assume, at least when we're talking Eternal, but they couldn't really incorporate it into team strategies just yet. So I would believe that Genji is going to rise in priority today.
Actually,
and that we're seeing a lot
that
more.
makes a lot more sense than why Dignitas chose to ban out the Sonya, as they may be thinking Sonya is their replacement for Genji, considering they didn't have time to practice on that hero.
That's a really good point there. Also, Genji, who has been played pretty often in Korea, has been getting to a point where he's being shut down very often. I'm actually curious, because last week we had a lot of Genji play through Friday, Saturday as well. And now that she's been out for a while, will teams be able to shut him down? We know the counters, the variants, the Anubrax, any type of lockdown, very helpful for stopping him from being effective. But Dignitas putting priority as a first pick, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's something that I've seen in a lot of scrims from various teams, that Genji is just rising in priority. And yesterday was it a bit less just because Trick couldn't practice with it to that extent. We've seen the Ducks do it a bit. But the whole idea of Genji oftentimes is to draft a composition that can dive the backline hard. And in this case, since the Nuborak is taken away, they also get a Zero tool, so they have 2 targets that can really jump on a backline and try to drop him right away.
Coordination will be the name of the game for Dignitas already with that Zeratul and the Genji. Really showing their strategies here early. What do you think about this?
I like that they've committed to 3 heroes that, like we mentioned, have insane pressure on the back line, because Chromie and Gul'dan are both incredibly valuable heroes to pick up here, but Dignitas is basically daring Expert to pick those heroes at this point with those first 3 picks.
And you make a very good point with Chromie, since we've seen ADRD on Chromie a lot more in the past. And it's not only the Genji and the Zeratul, Murden can jump in with them.
Yeah.
And at that point, you can tell that Expert is starting to really worry about it. They ban out Uther because they're saying, we have enough problems as is with our backline, considering what they just drafted. If they get a Divine Shield for Dragon Blade Genji on top of that,
yeah, forget
then good night backline.
Yeah, and one of the things I like about these 3 heroes for the pressure is not only are they able to get into the backline easier, but they are also able to use their mobility to get over the map mechanics in the middle, so they can get from one lane to another very, very quickly to contest the beacons or gank.
And they all play really well around the Anubarak. Think about it here. I mean, you have Genji has his ability and get around it. If Anubarak comes back to peel whatever backline is set up, Dignitas can retreat and reset the fight up again for another engagement. Chromie is actually going to get banned out here. Wow.
That's to me a bit interesting because I would have said a good ban for them might have been Gul'dan here.
Yeah, leave the Chromie up.
Wave clear, first of all, leaving Chromie up, as Corton already said, daring them to pick the Chromie because she can be attacked by Zeratul and Genji. But now also the question, you have a very dive-heavy composition for Dignitas. It's very aggressive. You want to go into the backline, drop targets. If Gul'dan or other wave clear heroes come into play now, can you really still get the lane contention? Is that something where you might have a weakness in the draft that your wave clear is missing?
Well, I guess it looks like they chose to fear Chromie's early game power, and she is extremely strong in the early game on this map when all the towers are still up and she can't really be dove. To fear that more than Gul'dan's wave clear and his anti-dive capabilities with fear. It's an interesting choice on Dignitas' part. It gives us a little insight into what they're thinking in this draft. A little surprising, like we said, but it does make sense if they really want to capitalize on the early game, because Chromie can still be a menace there with all her walls up.
Yep.
Now Zarya being picked up alongside Greymane. Zarya helpful for those peeling possibilities. First off, the shields, always great for stopping those divers, but if she can get her energy built up, she can actually go toe-to-toe here with Genji and Zeratul in a fight, which will give them tools, and of course there's always Explosion Zone. If they use their mobility skills, maybe she gets Explosion Zone, lock someone down.
It's definitely a strong foreman that they drafted. They have to also be careful with that backline, as you said. The shields on top of that is fantastic for them. So that's one of the things they're trying to set up here. So the four-man is going to be really strong. I'm very curious to see what Dignitas drafts now. They have that dive, they still need one support, and a bit more wave clear would probably be a good idea on their end.
Yeah, definitely need someone maybe up in the top lane to float around as well. I could see Zeratul holding it down for a little bit, but it's certainly someone to really kind of dictate that area.
And I could see...
Oh, there it is.
Zagara. Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. I was wondering for a second if they are considering to pick a Gul'dan for Mena, since he didn't have that yet. That would be a bit of wave clear. But then you end up in a situation, who do you put onto that top lane? You don't really have a dedicated solo laner, and that would force you to break it up considerably. And then you can maybe cross the top and middle with Zeratul and Genji, but it would put a lot of pressure onto this rotation.
You'd have to babysit Gul'dan with those heroes to make sure he didn't get dove up top. He has really good sustain, good trade, as long as he's not facing an outnumbered fight. So it could work, but deciding to go with the Zagara that's just going to aggressively push it regardless also makes sense. I mean, it's been very effective on this map. We've seen in the NA scene especially.
And now it's up to ADRD. What are we seeing for him? He's the only one missing in that lineup, and he needs to take on Zagara, so he knows the stakes. I'm curious to see what the choice is for him.
And Dave might be a decent choice just to give them the ability to still control that back line, get ley line seals, stop the mobility from coming their way. I also do want to point out the Chromie makes a lot of sense here with the Kharazim being picked up. If any damage comes out from Chromie, Kharazim has a really hard time healing through that. However, it is a very volatile matchup. If you did leave the Chromie up, Kharazim can also get some nice spikes in the late game to help get the kills. Regardless, it is going to be a Ragnaros for that last pickup to slow down the game here and help out with the wave clear.
Yeah, so we have the Rack also potentially up at the top lane, as we would expect. He can slow down against the objective quite considerably if the opponent ends up with a better Zerg wave. So it's an interesting draft for sure, but I did not expect Dignitas to be this aggressive in the first game.
Well, if they were trying to force their opponents off of heroes like Gul'dan and Chromie with those bans and picks, they succeeded, because that's a very frontline heavy comp from Expert there. The Expert comp should actually be able to win most of the team fights if they fight straight up. Dignitas should be looking to create pressure through mobility and through pushing.
Yeah, and they can certainly do that here with the Zeratul. The Zeratul is kind of key to this entire matchup. For Dignitas, if they have Zeratul floating around constantly and being annoying on those beacons and stealing beacons left and right, you force Expert to spread out and try to accept or at least take away more beacons from them, and that's where you get your picks. You have the Genji coming in with the Zeratul flanks.
Yeah. Now, one question to you. How much of a factor do you feel the silence on Malfurion is going to be later on? Because if you look at Genji, you look at Zeratul, one of the ideas is to go into the backline and drop a target there. But if Malfurion just plays this safe, waits for them to engage, and drops the silence, the rest of the team has an opportunity to take him out there. Do you think that is a big threat and a concern for those two heroes?
Yeah, it is. It's always a little risky, because you can potentially be baited into using the silence too early and then hard engaged on. But if he's able to get a key pick with it, I mean, if the Genji uses his D too offensively and you can predict that he's not immediately going to E out, landing that silence, getting the kill, it's big. But then the next time you do that, I guarantee that Genji is going to E right out there and try to bait that silence, and then they're going to hard engage with a VP and get like a 5-man wipe. So you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Well, it's all about the mind games here. Game number 1, it's the playoffs. Best of 5 series, Dignitas taking on Expert.
Game number 1 on Braxis Holdout. It's the playoffs, and we're looking at Dignitas going up against Expert. To the left side, it is the European champions. JPL on Muradin, and we are seeing Bakery on Karazim, Mena on Zagara today, Zelia on Zeratul, and Genji, played by Snitch.
To the right, and the red, Team Expert. Kirsten will be playing Malfurion. We're going to have Bad Benny on the Nubarek, and he's the one that shouted out for that 3-0. We'll see if he can get it today. ADRD on Zarya, Blade on Ragnaros. We're going to see how Team Expert can handle the pressure of Dig, these Western champions that have been so clutch in securing victories.
Yeah, ADRD has been playing a lot of Zarya on this map in particular. It shifts a bit depending on what they put onto the top lane. He oftentimes takes Zarya if they want to have that strong foreman that they're currently running at the bottom of the map. Also, when we come to talents, on the side of Expert, we have on the side of Enubarak on level 1 an immediate pick onto the Regeneration Master. If you control the bottom globe, it's actually a fantastic talent that he can stack super fast on this map. So lane control is going to be very important to them.
It certainly will be. Floating around between that bottom region globe and, of course, the one in the wave. JPL will be the main tank here to make sure that does not occur. And JPL on a Muradin, man, that is something that is very happy to see. His Muradin and his Tyrael are probably my favorite warriors to watch him play.
He is one of those Muradins that receives counter bans against this particular hero. We have seen a few Muradin bans just this season, but we asked later on the opponent, why Muradin? What really made you ban this hero? And they said straight up, listen, JPL, he is so strong on Muradin. We wanted to take the tool away from him since they already had a very aggressive setup. If we add JPL's Muradin to that, it's just too much for us to handle. So this is definitely something we have to watch out for here.
Let's also talk about the laning here. Zagara is actually in the bottom to help out with the pushing. Now, Zeratul held the top for a while, but it looks like they just wanted to throw some creep down. Zagara actually is rotating up now to start a 2-on-1 against that Rag.
Yeah, Rag needs to be very, very careful. So Blade on that hero already in trouble, about to fall at that top lane, and he dies. Ragnaros goes down, and that is very unfortunate now for Expert. They're losing an entire wave already. Losing the solo laner is always a huge blow against the team.
It is a huge blow, and it unleashes Zeratul here too. Zagara can now set up in the top lane, get lanes pushing, start to control the lanes, and Zeratul comes in for a flank. They're looking for Bad Benny. He is low on health. A shield at the last second will keep him alive, while Nick is turning around to apply damage to JPL.
Dignitas suffered a lot of damage in that attempt to take Enubarak down. They don't succeed to squash the beetle, but it was a close call since Enubarak had a rough time getting through that gate, was body blocked by his own allies for a few seconds as they were trying to zone for him.
Yeah, it was very instrumental that ADRD actually got about 80% energy there. They were trying to focus through the shields to kill off Bad Benny, and they weren't able to do it, which allowed ADRD to respawn back, bring out those grenades, and of course apply a solid amount of damage.
Also, as we see now, it is half a level of a lead for Dignitas, and that is mainly because this one wave at the top was missed out since Ragnaros fell. Zeratul the entire time is, by the way, lurking in the shadows, trying to see if he can get a kill. And now that Zelia realizes it's not going to happen, he instead starts to steal the camp away. I like that a lot from Dignitas.
Yes, that's the strength of Dignitas here, as we mentioned. Him being able to rotate around the map, float, grab mercenary camps, and just be a general threat. This forces Team Expert to be as a team of 4, and where they are a team of 4 is great. They are pushing in the bottom.
Yeah, with Zeratul all of a sudden gone, that's a 3 versus 4 situation at the bot lane, and Expert makes the best out of it. Now, on the other hand, Zelia is moving in, wants to go for Nick.
He even blinks in for it. Bakery goes in for the last couple of punches, but misses out on the opportunity. Bad Benny turning it around.
Yeah, Zelia especially had a bit of a rough time after the engage, needed to back off quickly. And this is one of the power spikes that we have with especially Zarya, just being able to throw out that shield and keep a hero alive. It's a great tool now against that Genji and Zeratul comp that looks at a kill right away at the beginning of a battle.
Zarya going to be effective throughout the entire match, but the effect of Zeratul has been great in the top lane. Zagara has been dominating pretty well here. She's got creep pretty set up as well, and Ragnaros is forced to play incredibly defensively. Genji does get engaged upon on the bottom. JPL moves in for a storm, but misses out on the bolt and will be forced to retreat, and Curson will grab the beacon.
Yeah, Zeratul actually sneaking that, but now we have Blade at the top getting a beacon himself, and that is more points. They actually look, Mena looks for that kill. That is a bit weird. Blade is about to fall at that top lane, and he should have seen this coming.
Yeah, that was completely telegraphed.
Yeah.
Zagara charging into a Ragnaros, that's a gank coming.
First of all, Zagara charges into Ragnaros, and also Zagara completely ignoring the beacon that was just taken. If you force Ragnaros off the beacon and then you don't take it back, even though your opponent holds both at the time, that's a clear tell that something is coming your way.
Blade missing out on the tail, and it will hurt as Zagara pushes that forward on the right, but Expert, the other 4-man, are doing very well. They hold this bottom phase for a solid amount of time. Shield comes out, Nick's getting low, and he gets taken out. Now ADRD getting body blocked by Xaylia, Bakery, and JPL.
JPL with a stun once again against Bad Benny, but the Bucks should be able to move out here. They are going to claim this beacon though. The question is, can Ragnaros push Zagara back at the top? Because down here it's still a 4 versus 3 situation with Greymane just now coming back. The Nubarak falling. Expert a bit too aggressive and losing another hero. Zarya also down.
Xaylia setting up that reset for Stitch to come in. Followed up with the damage. Stitch came in, got the reset, and he's good to go. That's 2 big pickups and a fort down in the top right corner and an entire beacon phase being channeled.
Staggered depths is definitely the biggest problem that he can have in that bot lane, and it's also coming down to just Ragnaros being too aggressive up at the top. Losing out on that lane was a huge blow because it did not only take experience and the beacon away from them, it also resulted in Zagara getting free push power on the lane, and that was just too much to handle.
Team Expert gonna rely on plan B and use Ragnaros Molten Core to clear out the Zerg wave, and they'll do just fine. But Dignitas is grouping up for a push in the bottom. They've already thrown Zagara down there, especially after they've killed the fort. Zagara is more effective in a lane where she has something to beat up on.
So at the top lane, they can defend. Xaylia is still waiting out if he can maybe get a pick or a bit of free damage in. Shouldn't really happen at this point, especially since we still saw Malfurion providing some vision over here with the scouting drone. So we have the rotation to the bot, but Dignitas is a very comfortable spot, having an entire level lead, more than that even, and pushing for another wall, attempting to drop the structures at the bot lane.
The wall's gotten pretty low here, but Expert will answer just fine here. They bring all 4 down, but again, you have to be careful. You mentioned it. The full level lead for Dignitas is great. They're moving towards level 10, so Expert has a couple of choices. Grab a fort in the bottom left and get a kill and try to tie up its experience. Will they get the opportunity? That's the question here, as Dig is answering the call.
They should be able to get the fort if they just poke a bit more. The minions alone might even take it down, but in experience, the lead that we see for Dignitas is just fantastic. They're nearly on level 10, as Expert is still struggling to reach level 9.
Dig, fully aware that they are close to level 10, are setting up for a 5-man gank into the bottom right side. Bad Benny scouts out Xaylia. Xaylia moves in with the last-second Void Prism pickup, and they're going for Nick.
Bad Benny barely getting out of here. Nick is also escaping the Void Prison, isolating a few, but not resulting in a kill. So a lot of cooldowns, or at least one massive cooldown, has been burned. But we see, on the other hand, Nidus taken for Zagara. Not using them all here. It's a great map for Nidus, and Zagara just wants to make sure that she can push on whatever lane and have a lot of lane sustains through those networks.
Yeah, but Pseudo Global as well can show up with Zeratul at any point if she has a nice network set up, so they are intending to snowball this map here.
It's one of the reasons why we saw Zagara also occasionally move to the bot lane for Creep Tumor, so that she can now set these Nidus networks up. The fight, on the other hand, is starting. The X-Stride is coming in. Nick is in trouble, moves away, barely escapes, goes for the well, as we have a 5 versus 4. Blade moving down, trying to get the kill against Bakery.
Nick has been Houdini's. This is the 3rd escape he's made this game. Now, this is 10 to almost level 10, so Team Expert's trying to fight back here before they hit the heroics, but Dignitas, being aware of the state that Expert was in, were able to retreat.
Now let's talk about what works for Expert. They are still on level 10, they are on their heroic abilities, and it's just now that the second beacons are activating. So they can fight for the second beacon phase. But this is important. They need to make something happen with this one. If they lose the second beacon phase as well and lose a few heroes here without getting counter kills, Dignitas is going to start to snowball way too hard and it will be rough for them to recover. So this is a very important phase in the game for them.
Dignitas using the Genji here to set up for a boss run. Zeratul actually started the Hellboss on the left and knew that he got scouted out, so he keeps threatening to grab the Hellboss, which has kept attention of Expert down here in the bottom left, and Dig takes a boss. Sneaky maneuver pays off.
Great call. Great call. They make the risky play, but they would have been willing to just move back from it. They were also okay with the team fight. They still had the Void Prison. They could have zoned with it, so it was fairly safe. And this should now result in the second beacon being taken by Dignitas. The boss pushing at the bot. Expert trying to fight both at this point, but it's an awkward dance that they have to dance here to maintain control of the objective.
It's an awkward dance, but they're doing it pretty well here. JPL gets hit with a Curse Bullet. Will have to be defended here. We also have Bakery stuck in the root, but he gets out just in time, while Zagara continues to push in the top lane. So Dignitas disengages, but I like how Expert handles that. They put 2 of their tanks on top of the beacon to prevent Expert channel.
They handled it really well. It was a very good decision from them to make it, to just have 2 interrupt the beacon, as the rest goes going in, trying to deal with the boss. So it was well done, but I like how Dignitas is currently attempting to control the map. They do a very good job with it, and Expert is struggling. What Expert really needs is a good fight where they can get a few kills and gain some momentum.
Yeah, this is really kind of a different style for Dignitas. It's full-on engage, going for kills, but also kind of split pushing at the same time, and they're running it relatively well here. Zelia's on the bottom left, and he's seeing that ADRD is intending to push, and I like Expert realizing, okay, we have a Zagara constantly pushing us in. We don't have much options. We don't have the mobility they have to move on the battleground, so they just push in for keep wall.
It's a big problem, not having the mobility to deal with the Zagara. And as long as MENA has Nidus networks on the map that they cannot shut down, this is going to be a constant threat. And if he at some point is able to use that global presence to drop a keep, it's just going to be worse. So right now, a fight would be great for Expert, but Dignitas, of course, they are very aware of this. They are just poking a bit. They're seeing if they can maybe take an advantageous position because of the numerous advantage. If they can't do that, they will be willing to move back and wait for level 13.
They're aware that Ragnaros being in the top will be difficult at 13, very close that you were just mentioning. Dignitas starts to move in. They have the top beacon. All they want to do is get control here. They don't necessarily need to get kills, but will go for the opportunity if it answers.
It's a 5 versus 4. They see Rag at the top. They are fully committed to this. They haven't used any cooldowns yet either. JPL needs to be careful because of the constant poke that we see coming from Greymane. But overall, they are doing this really well. They see Rag at the top. They take the 5 versus 4. They don't heavily commit to it yet. They don't drop the cooldowns. They wait for 13. But if an opportunity presents itself, they're going to be ready for the kill.
13 about to hit, but Expert's aware that 13's about to hit, which will indicate that Dig will move in for an engage. So here is Blade. They turn around and they charge in for JPL. Sulfurous Smash does not connect. There's a Void Prison.
Void Prison in the back, indeed. They're jumping in once again. The X-Strike has been used by Genji, but the position is still being held by Expert. 13 talent advantage now for Team Dignitas as they move in once again onto the point, trying to channel it through Bad Benny, attempting to contest. Their backline jump once again. Zelia with a constant poke.
The shields keep coming out though, and Expert will be able to continue living here. They are lively and full of health, but they eventually back up as cooldowns start to miss out, and Dignitas will take you 100% beacon phase to 0 here of Team Expert.
Looking really strong for Dignitas. The talent lead, the Zerg wave, Zagara moving up to the top already. They can push again, and Blade immediately dropping the Molten Core on the Ragnaros. MENA has so much space at the top now, and they move in with 3 heroes, the rest of the team rotating, and it's a very awkward position for Expert to be in.
It's super awkward here, and they're going to see if they can handle the keep coming their way with 13 so close. MENA and crew, they're going back up the moment they see anyone coming towards their direction, while Murden and Zeratul are setting up a gank on Ragnaros here on the bottom right. Also fort damage. With ADRD standby, Blade is a little bit defended, but that fort, not so much.
Yeah, the fort will fall. Expert is still in an okayish spot since they have the 13 talents. So they have an opportunity to fight on even talents. They're trying to do that already, and there's the kill. Genji is down. Great play with the silence of Malfurion, as we said earlier.
Big pickup there, and they're also looking for another one here as they're going to be able to take out the member stuck in the cocoon. It's going to be Bakery. They just turn around and bring out the damage. Can Bakery escape? He does. He makes it away from the fight. Now, Expert, with 1 kill here, they have 20 seconds to make something happen. They just grab whatever mercs they can, but do you go for a boss?
I guess you could try. My problem with that last fight was that unfortunately Zarya provided a dash target for Bakery. Of course, what Zarya was trying to do is zone out other team members so that they can't provide one. But by doing that, she was in a spot where Bakery could just zip over. They might have been able to get a kill here, maybe if the root hits, but they still have that one. Boss play would be a risk. They might feel threatened to take it at some point. I don't think they're there yet, since we still have an entire level until Dignitas will get level 16.
Ooh, Azalea's here on the left. Bad Benny was sitting around the corner, though. Could come in for the engage at any point, so he will survive.
Curson just wanted to provide vision because they were a bit caught off guard when the boss was taken earlier by Dignitas. So right now they are thinking, guys, let's just make sure that they don't take it. So Curson moving in, trying to drop the scouting drone, but they already wait for him right over here. Dignitas knows that there is a chance that Expert at some point is attempting to go for the boss and make a bit of a, I don't want to call it quite yet a Hail Mary play, but force something out of Dignitas or sneak a boss in.
Well, Expert is taking this downtime to clear out all creep they can to stop the Nidus network push of Zagara. You want to make sure she can't get to your side of the map as easily as possible. ADRD jumped up on the left, will use the explosions though. Nick steps forward to apply some damage as well. Zeratul's here on the bottom side.
Yeah.
He has a Void Prison if he needs to go in, but 16 not being here, Dig will play safe.
Zagara all over the place in the meantime at the bot lane now, but up here to the top they're starting to take those Nidus networks down, limiting the options of Zagara moving across the map, taking creep tumors as well. They're very diligent in just denying all of this. It's very difficult since Mena has been all over the place throughout the entire game, but they are attempting to just lessen the impact of Zagara.
They are doing so pretty well. The bottom beacon has been grabbed, 16 about to get here, and this is where Zeratul can force a fight. He's actually looking around and scouting where the opposing team is at. Here is 16. And if you look at the minimap, you see everyone on Dig moving in for that top beacon. They want to fight.
This is really where Dig wants to make some plays. Snitch not stunned as Bad Benny charges in. This is awkward for Expert now. They have to hold the beacons, but they don't really want to fight. They would love to get 16. Fight on eye level again, but this is the strength of Dignitas, exploiting these advantages that they have, thanks to the early 1-level lead they got, especially because they were able to get a double pick against Ragnaros at the top at the solo lane.
It's so hard for Expert to force this fight to actually break out without using Cocoon. It's so difficult with the mobility available on Zeratul, Genji, Karazim, and Muradin, and Zagara is never in a spot where she can get picked off. Look at that bottom right lane. That Hellbat / minion wave is actually moving in for the keep wall. JPL gets into a fight. Genji actually does get picked off.
It's all about the silence. The dream on Malfurion. They get the kill. Zeratul moves away. Now they can even send someone back to that bot lane. They couldn't before what Dignitas would have taken the fight, but a 4 versus 5 situation on the map allows them a bit more freedom. They still see Zalia. They want the 16. They're pushing in the top lane. This is a bit of the momentum that Expert was hoping for.
They're doing well, man. What they're trying to do is make sure that explosive moment does not happen for Dignitas. If it doesn't happen, they can win the team fight. We talked about it in the draft, and as we get to the late game here, they're starting to find opportunities to finally open up this map.
Both of the kills they have were against Genji after Twilight Dream, and that is the big tool they have in their arsenal. Once they see move in, and Zalia up at the top is going to fall now as well. Good kill for Expert, and also, again, a staggered death. So Dignitas, just as Genji comes back into the game, suffers a numeric advantage for another 30 seconds.
Expert looking to make a play here. Ragnaros is poised to move in on that beacon while the rest of his team moves in on the left side. And this is where Zagara starts to hurt. If you're able to actually take control of the map by getting a kill or two, clear out the creep and her Nidus networks, she's suddenly very defensive on her side of the battleground, which means you don't have that global pressure you've had to deal with the entire game.
Also want to quickly highlight the Burning Rage on the side of an Uberak. That's going to help a lot clearing those creep tumors. So it's a really important talent and something that definitely helps them. Usually what you see here is just a bit more damage on his part, but right now it's all about getting those creep tumors out of the way, limiting the options. They want that Zerg wave, and that 40%. JPL is now moving to the bot lane, trying to reclaim it. 52% on the channel bar. We still have Ragnaros D pushing the bot lane, but this is now where we're heading into another potential team fight. The big win for Expert is they are even experienced with Dignitas.
Yep, and for the first time, they're ahead in Beacon progress, 52-0. Bad Benny sniffs out JPL. We're going to have the Curse Bullet hit, as well as Avatar being used here by JPL, and Expert will just grab the Mercenary Camps and wait out the duration.
Zeratul is at the top now, reclaiming the beacon, so they are moving to the bot lane. Only 2% channel. So this was once again a camp that they took that gives them a bit of an edge for a few more seconds. Creep tumors are spread by Mena all over the place. But we have a bit more of an aggressive stance by Experts since they don't find themselves in this situation anymore where they always are one talent behind. So they can really now look a lot more for these fights and try to engage themselves without having to wait for the opponent to make a move.
This Zerg wave is so important for Expert. It should be able to finally open up the map for them so they can get a keep taken out, get Catapult pushing in, which would give them that pseudo Zagara pressure they've been wanting.
Considering the bad early game they had, this is very impressive that they got themselves into this position. And it all happened on the back of the kills against the 2 assassins that we expected to jump the backline. So now they are pressuring the bot, or they're looking for a potential kill. Stun attempt there. Bakery can dash. Stun does not hit. Too mobile. They have so many escapes.
I do like how Bad Ben went in for that. That may have looked kind of awkward seeing a burrow charge go straight to the wall, but he immediately goalied that keep wall there and set up for the impales. But look at the top right.
Yeah.
Zagara pushing in with 2 waves of mercenary camps and going straight for a keep, and she gets it easily.
It's an easy keep right there. The attempt to gank someone at the bot lane. If it's successful, you get the kill, you gain momentum, you can trade. But that didn't happen. They didn't get anything here. Now they lose a keep for free at the top. And this wave is pushing towards the core. Expert is making a call here. They are saying, we cannot out-macro them. It doesn't work. Not against Zagara. We have to at least get the trade. But their core is going to take damage.
Are they just going to push in here and start looking
like
for a core? Yes, they go straight for the Molten Core, and they're here to start sieging right away. ADR, Nick, and Bad Benny will defend Ragnaros. Zeratil's on the back right, waiting for Molten Core to finish so he can come in for a VP.
This is a really rough spot right now. The core of the Expert took damage already. They know they cannot fight that late game. At least they're afraid of it. They're thinking about coring, but it's going to be rough. It's a 5 versus 5 with the core. Do they get the kill? They get it!
Cocoon comes out as well, hitting another member. Only 3 people here for defense. Expert moving in for the core, dropping down to 85%.
Already the silence hitting
Bakery!
in. Bakery goes down. He's dead, and they're going for Celia straight away. It's a triple any second. No, the Void saves him. 60% on the core of Dignitas. Void comes back off, and they're still going for it.
It's still a 4v3. Zelia's low on health. He's going straight for Bad Benny, and the call has been made. Put all damage onto core. ADRD is sieging away. Curson as well. A full healthy Zarya will take on the core with the aid of Malfurion, and Expert will go up 1-0 in the series.
What a call at the end. They're realizing they cannot finish the game in the long run. They start to posture, and they get a kill against Muradin of all people.
I love the play. Passive, controlled, constantly making sure that you're never in a scenario where you're giving up too much. And then when something breaks, they call it. You know what? It's time for the game. We either go win it or we lose it right now. And Expert pulls it off Cawthon. What'd you think?
I was very impressed at Expert's state of mind there as they went for that. Normally when you make those kind of desperation, hey, we have to go for it all in, end the game right now, it's usually a little more hesitant and like you kind of see some people commit, some don't. The fact that Zagara was killing keeps and they're just, as a team, they're like, we're just going for it, going all in. I didn't think it was going to work with the Zeratul defense, and they just pushed on through and made it happen.
They got the Cocoon on Charism, correct? Since
yes.
There was no palm, so that was just super coordination. And we talked yesterday about how that was lacking for the Ducks, for example, when they were going in with a Cocoon. But here it was perfect. You shut down the healer, you get that Cocoon first, and then the drop against Muradin. Yeah. That just started it all.
That kind of coordination in a situation where you should be kind of panicking because you're in a spot where we're like, we need to all-in core against the Zeratul. They're still so calm, collected, composed, and they make it work.
It literally comes down to milliseconds at that point. If that's a second late on that Cocoon, the palm goes off, Muradin lives, and then Cocoon will actually keep Bakery alive so Muradin can't escape from the fight and then come back in. The coordination, as you guys keep saying, was just ridiculous.
And to keep your cool, when your own core is already not only suffering shield damage, but is losing points, catapults are constantly pushing in, you know you're on the clock, and then just finding that one spot, that one opportunity that you needed. Great.
And the point I need to bring up here is this is a comp that we don't normally see from Dignitas. This flying around guerrilla tactics with Zagara's pushing down stuff. So this is different, and they played it pretty well overall. But coming into game number 2, do we expect the same side of strategy?
I could see them with more aggressive plays. I think their early game was very strong. The 2 kills against Ragnaros at the top lane were fantastic. It gave them the level lead that they carried through the entire game as much as they could. It's just the kills against Genji, I feel. When he moved in, and Malfurion, we talked about it at the beginning, he got the Twilights off he needed, and those 2 kills helped them to regain map control.
Yeah, Dignitas did a great job of carrying their 1-level lead from 7 all the way to 16, holding the advantage in the game almost the entire time. And then those 2 picks on the most mobile, hard-to-kill targets at 16 really, they basically gave the only opportunity for Expert to do something in the game. If they hadn't gotten those, they would not have been close enough to make that all-in call at the end, and they would have just slowly lost to Zagara and the map mechanic, I think.
So going into game number 2, if you're Dignitas, do you grab first pick here or do you go grab a battleground? What is the main way for them to start thinking about getting composure and getting themselves rooted back into the match?
I would be shocked if they don't go for first pick. It has been a European thing for so long to take first pick over battleground. The only teams that in Europe we usually see taking the battlegrounds are towards the lower end of the standings, where they are trying to prepare certain drafts against teams. I don't think that Dignitas is very worried about this. This is definitely one of those moments when they're saying, okay, we need to concentrate on the next one. But they were looking good in the early game.
Yes.
They just say, guys, we can play this. It was looking good for a long time. We made 1-2 mistakes that led to a loss. Focus on the next game. We're fine. And also, this is a very different map than most of the 3-lane maps that we can expect at this point. Cursed, Infernal Shrines could be maps that we are seeing now. So I think they're going to be completely okay. But it's definitely in the back of their head at this point.
Well, bad binning call today. A 3-0 against the Western Clash champions. Can they do it? They're already up.